And nobody is coming up to raise the issue of their tribe or their nationalities for that matter. However, within Nigeria, we would look at somebody coming from just another local government or another state and highlight that as a reason for them not to be able to contest or not to be able to hold political office. And for me, that was really eye-opening for this particular election, because it seems when everybody ran out of ways to pull down the other party, the only thing they had to resort to was tribe. So I'm just going to pray that going forward, we'll learn our lessons and also drop that particular bias, because we are a country of so many tribes, we are a country of so many cultures, and allowing tribe to become an issue, allowing language to become an issue is very, very ironic for a country like Nigeria. So that's all in all. I hope anybody that wins, God bless us all. God bless the country. That's all I can.
Thank you so much, Tolu. Thank you so much for your views. I know, Richard Jimo, you raised up your hand, but I'm going to take those who have raised up their hands in order. I think we've gone through everybody. I don't know if Lukman Ayole did not conclude what he was saying the other time because his network was bad. Please, let me give him the floor now. Then after that, I'll go to Adapter, HT Okunuga, and then Richard Jimo in that order. You know, so Lukman, can you complete in just 2 minutes, please? Let's hear from you. Conclude what you were trying to say the other time, yeah?
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk about INEC.
Yeah.
Where, from my own personal observation, I discovered that some of their staffs were not well trained. And you know, this is the first time we are using papers in the Nigeria election, in the national election. And some of them were not well trained. In fact, the INEC official that came to my polling unit and many other polling units that I discovered, they don't know how to upload that election results. They have to get to the collation center, because I followed them to the collation center. And maybe 1 or 2 or 3 persons in that collation center are the ones uploading, trying to upload for them. That's number one thing I discovered in that election. So then, secondly, the question we should be asking ourselves is, and that's the corruption we are talking about, the question is, who was given? Because from the budget given to them, I should believe, although I have not read most of the budget, I should believe somebody must have collected money for that training of those personnel. Who collected that money? Those are the questions. But instead, because of the political jamboree, and maybe because of emotions from our youth and many people, they are easily saying, yes, it's because Tinubu president, because this one and this, that, making so many false allegations. And that is why I'm going on. Secondly, our social media, they cause more damage to this election than before. Even in Lagos here, where I voted, they make it look as if 80% of the polling unit was full of maybe it was full of intimidation, attack, violence, rigging, whatever, which was not so. And I can say it, and I'm saying it again, in Ikosisheri SCDA, where I voted, throughout the Ikosisheri, anybody can confirm the election was peaceful. Even in Koshofe, that was near to us, the same thing happened. Koshofe lost. The APC lost to Labour Party in Koshofe. Even in Lagos State General, they lost. So I don't know why we always follow that social media. Something must be done for future purpose. And that is why we are having many issues of divide, tribalism, whatever. Thank you.
Okay, I think his network has gone again. Thank you so much, PLIDE Lukman, for your very, very forthright views as well, as usual, forthright. And also, one of the reasons I always, you're also one of those around there who always have not that far away view of things, but precise view of things, because you're right there at the epicenter. So thank you so much, Brother Lukman. So 3 people are raising their hands. I'm just going to call them in quick succession. Let's go to PLIDE Adapter. You've got 3 minutes each, please. 3 minutes each, because I still have to go back to all the others to have their say before we end the session. So PLIDE Adapter, over to you.
Thank you so much, convener, for putting me through again to have a conversation in this house tonight. I'm going to talk very fast, basically on 3 things. 1, vote buying. 2, party leadership. And 3, tribalism. And in tribalism, I'm going to be biased. I think that's where I'm going to start from. I'm going to bias in this my submission now. And I'm going to make reference.
Please feel free, go on, so long as we're not doing extremism. We want everybody to express their views without being afraid of anything. So go on, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Like PLIDE Transformational has said, that in this election, there has been more social media bias on so many issues that eventually turned into false alarm on intimidation and oppression of some people. I know PLIDE that what's her name? Tolu wasn't going to come out straight about that tribalism issue, but I'm going to help her to come out now because she mentioned something like that, but she wasn't deep inside. Like for instance, let's take Enugu for example. A candidate of a party in Enugu was contesting, and their view was like his great grandfather came from a boy that as a result he cannot be a governor, he cannot contest for a governorship post, and they won't vote him even if he contests as governor in Enugu.
Do you have any evidence of that?
Yes, I have it. Everybody that are here, that are hearing me knows who
Please, can you share it with us after this meeting?
Okay, there's a video around that. I will ask PLIDE Transformational or to help us to look for that video if I can't get it.
I can confirm to that video, sir. I can confirm I watched it and I just could not believe what I was watching.
Okay. And they were like, this guy is from, his great grandfather is from Ebonyi. As a result, he cannot contest in Enugu. That is one. There is another one. There is this guy that Abiola is part of his name. He has a other Igbo name, and then maybe it's Chinedu Abiola or something like that. That the guy was contesting House of Assembly in Anambra State, and as a result, that was a basis for arguments in Lagos, where they were now telling us that after all, that Abiola Chinedu was contesting in Anambra, and he has a Yoruba father, and as a result, why are we now against Gbadebo Roads Vivo for contesting governorship in Lagos? And at the end of the day, did you know that this guy came out and debunked the fact that he's a Yoruba guy? That he said his father and mother, his parents, his generation are from Anambra State, that he never had anything that has to do with Yoruba at all. But because when he was making his speech, I have that video, I can still send that one to the platform. He now said, when he was making his statement, he now said the reason why he did not debunk it earlier than now, until after he won the election, was that the thing was even giving him popularity and also working for his counterpart in Lagos, who is contesting for governor. And that's the only reason why he's not refuting that name all along. For you to know that there is a tribal agenda within the Easterners. For that guy to have held on to that, not debunking all that until when he won the election, he now came out and said, because it was, I will send you the video. He said it categorically. It's not that somebody was forcing him to talk. He was rejoicing and making statements. He now said it's because that thing was going to work for his counterpart who is contesting for Lagos State governor. That is why he's not debunking it all along. That is very, very bad They have taken tribalism and ethnicity to the extreme.
I'll give you just 30 more seconds, please, because
now
of time.
that I'm talking about tribalism, then I'm talking about party leadership. Around there, we have found out lately that the structure, the party structure, and the leadership of the parties are still the major problem of our political circle, because you will see all these political political leaders like chairman of APC in one local government, in one unit now. They are the one really messing up their parties, that they are not making people to even see what the electorates are supposed to even benefit, or what the candidates have done in the past to make the electorate to vote for them. And many of those electorates have done very well, but because they are not putting their projects online, or they are even denying what people were voting against the right candidates. And last one is vote buying. Vote buying has entered us to the extent that in this last election, the PDP candidate in my place was able to win an election because he made a card. I'll send that card to you. He made a VEV card where he put 10,000 naira and he was giving it to each person that is voting for his party with a pin that they will use to go and withdraw the 10,000 naira from the VEV card. And he wrote it in the foundation of his late mother. That is, that is to the extreme. Why are we buying votes in this age? Why don't you allow the people's choice?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, PLIDE Adapter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're also one of those who are fully much on ground. And thank you for the analysis you made earlier about the Ogun State election. Ogun State, yes, I do understand lots of people talk about performances, but you also need to also understand local politics. The Kensington Adebayo family, they're benefactors to quite a lot of Remo and a lot of Ijebu. They got companies, organizations that, that employ loads of people in those areas, and this is, I'm saying this to encourage us as well. A lot of us, for me, that's why I'm so irritated. I'm quite a lot irritated by social media. And I want to say to anybody who wants to succeed in anything other than maybe movies in the entertainment industry, and maybe you're using it to promote your business, you're using it to generate sales and all this, really validation there most times equates to lack of any validation in real life. So those people are just there for a lot of people are there for validation, because even these elections themselves, I've just said it, and many of you will bear me witness. I'm not saying this after elections. I've said it many times. I knew the elections were going to turn out the way. Yes, there would have been riggings and all those things. People would have been disenfranchised. But for me, when people said Labour and the online team will win hands down in places, I asked the question again and again. Nobody has ever won elections in Nigeria or in most climes without handshakes across divides. Many of you will remember many write-ups I put on our fora at different times, so across divides, you've got to have handshakes. Those handshakes are very important, across the age divide. For example, I know loads of elderly people, and I've said this many times before, who are celebrating the birth of a new movement, the birth of the youths, the birth of, this new generation of, of youths who really want to take their country back. And they have every right to want to take their country back. But all of a sudden you have the youths had everything going for them, and they started destroying it with their own hands. First of all, it was just like anybody that was alive before them hadn't done anything. Everybody was being condemned, Anybody who had a contrary opinion was being cursed, as in really cursed and harassed, threatened, It became, some people infiltrated that movement. It became a violent movement. They lost. All of a sudden, I shared this, was about 3 weeks ago on our webinar. I have two elderly aunties, and I discuss politics with. And all of them were saying, it is time. How can one person be controlling Lagos? For them, it was just about the longevity of it. Of course, people do have this fatigue after a while. They want to try new things. And I knew all along that. And they kept saying to me that it wasn't them, that there were loads of people that were going to vote for Peter Obi, and that they saw this new generation, this new obedient team and all this as a breath of fresh air, that whoever they brought up, they were going to support. I'm telling you, they themselves voluntarily started saying to me in the last 1.5 weeks, and they said one of them said one thing. I said, you know what? That even the ones that we hate, as in the older generation that they hate, they're even more fearful now of this new generation, because this ones, it's like you're so frightened that maybe someone is even going to get you from your house and shoot you at night if you disagree with them. They started losing. And of course, when you are the candidate as well, who would go to certain states and, would actually go straight to where he had its tribesmen, and for me, I find it very, very unfair when people say tribalism started from Lagos. No, Peter Obi introduced it in this election. He became religious. Pastors, bishops, and I'm very happy that many of them, if people are still going to their churches, and I'm not talking about their opinions, they have every right to support any candidate of their choice. I disagree with those who say, well, they're pastors. But for me, I'll be worried if my pastor came to our church and said, vote for so. I'll be like, what if I support this? In fact, in some homes, you have wives who are PDP, you have husbands who are Labour Party members. So even in the homes, there are divisions along those political lines. And so when you have people who should actually be fathers and mothers to all getting involved, so when you play that religious politics and you're having people in the north, the far north, they've always been very suspicious. These are people. You in the south, you don't mind Nigeria splitting. People like that, they feel that their very survival is tied to one Nigeria. And, so when you start playing politics, for me, I ask the question, how did the Muslim community manage to keep Murik? I'm sorry to say, I apologize to Muslims whom I feel offended about. But for me, I consider it one of the most annoying and very irresponsible organizations around it. One of the most annoying and irresponsible organizations around in terms of the kind of things they say and the kind of policy statements they come out with. Somehow, they kept quiet all through this. People would have said to them, don't talk. For me, I am a Christian and nothing would ever change me from being a Christian. But you know what? I have a lot more respect for Muslims as a result of this election. Don't let me hog the mic. So in terms of that, the politics of it, and the Labour Party at Lagos won. It's so sad. They had it won. The obedient team had it won until the presidential elections happened, and two things came to the fore. There was a lot of gloating. People started celebrating and insulting the people of the owners of the land, saying, well, they've come to take over the land.
Lagos is a no man's land.
Lagos
is a no man's land.
I heard that from people back home that I spoke with as well. I said, people who voted against Tinubu and were planning to vote against Sanwo-Olu. I heard a lot. I spoke with a lot of people. They were planning to vote against Sanwo-Olu. Many of them were actually now the ones who were canvassing for Sanwo-Olu because they heard from certain people that they own Lagos, they will take over and that they will chase away the Lagos Obas and install whoever. That's why I said, people say some of these movements are best because there are no leaderships. But you know what? That was a failure of strategy. That was a failure of leadership. People should have controlled it. People should have spoken with them. People should have said, you know what, now is the time to be humble. In fact, the easiest time to lose your title belt, your championship belt, is when you become overconfident. Overconfidence stepped in. And I've been reading quite a lot of what Adebayo wrote between yesterday and today. I mean, it's just the continuing along the playbook of Peter Obi. There's no way he could have won that election. There were you know, they irritated a lot. They lost a lot of their support base, and it was so painful. Let's go to HT Okunuga and then Richard Jimo after.
Governor, you have spoken a lot. And I think by everything you have said, I think it's nobody except an emotional being, no logical being will have anticipated that Gbadebo, you know, was going on would emerge, you know, would defeat Sanwo-Olu in Lagos, even by every standard. If I would not pick Sanwo-Olu, I think the next man I would pick would be Jandor. There will be no basis for me to pick Gbadebo ahead of Jandor by every standard. Let's set aside the MIT of a team, the MIT profile that is flagging around. It does not depict the exact personality of Gbadebo. But that is by the way. This election, two speakers said earlier that INEC had performed excellently well in this election. Well, I think it's a matter of personal appraisal. If I would openly speak my heart, I would say that.
Please openly speak your heart. Please go ahead and openly speak.
INEC, this is possibly the most controversial election that we have had in the last, 3 consecutive elections in Nigeria. And I just hope that it will be the last time we are going to have this type of election. INEC gave a lot of promises before the election. They gave a lot of, they said a lot, they gave a lot of promises before the election, and virtually all the things they said, particularly on beavers, was not met. I imagine sometimes that the last election that happened, that came up, the last 2 weeks election, politicians, the election went that way because of the fear of beavers. I'm sure if the governorship elections had been held last 2 weeks, then we have the presidential election held today. It was so possible that a Tinubu would have likely even not been able to emerge, because this issue of the election that happened yesterday there were a lot of technical manipulations in that election, and that is the truth of it. There are a lot of technical manipulations in that election. There was no way. There are people, governors, incumbents had their ways in most places, in many places. Incumbents had their way, and we cannot completely allude it to their performances. They technically had their ways in some places. So I just hope that this type of election will not happen again. We are supposed to be moving forward as a nation and not going forward, going back again, going forward, getting to the middle again, and then going back again. No, that is not how a nation should move forward. That's not how a nation should move forward. So I completely hope that we'll get better going forward. This issue of tribe, we have a lot of parts to play. Social media I hope social media does not lead to the destruction of Nigeria someday. If any protest will come up again, like the EndSARS, just like Peter Obi was only a beneficiary of the EndSARS. Peter Obi he was just a beneficiary of the wave. It was a wave. People were tired. That is true. The agitations of the young people, they are all true. They wanted good leadership. It's a truth. The older generations have failed. That is a pure truth as well. They wanted a new system, another form of truth. But the manners in which they navigated all this, aspirations may not have truly been, the manners they should have portrayed them. Manners they should have portrayed them. So we will always get better in due course.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my coordinator. Thank you. You are appreciated. Excellent view as usual. Thank you. So let's go to Richard's Jimo. Richard's Jimo. I know Lumesi is raising her, Provost is raising her hand, so you go after Richard's Jimo.
Yes,
Go on, please.
you see, the last two caller and yourself, honestly, have spoken, because you will notice that I immediately raised up my hand when I think PLIDE Bumi was speaking.
Tolu, PLIDE Tolu, I think.
Tolu, yeah. When she was speaking, that it's unfortunate how tribalism came to bear in this election. And honestly, your summation and that of the last two callers, you know what? You see, I'm a Yoruba man. Okay. Before I'm a Nigerian, I am a Yoruba man. Nigeria came into being because my Yoruba ancestors was colonized. And Nigeria is a creation of somebody in London here. So before I am a Nigerian, the DNA that runs through me is a Yoruba DNA. Do you understand? Now, in terms of national polity or national politicking or nation building, do you understand? If you want to compare with other advanced democracies, a George Bush at the Iraq War, looking for Saddam Hussein, will remind the whole world of his heritage as a Texan, whereby in the days of the Wild Wild West in Texas, it is wanted, dead or alive. That is his heritage as a Texan. He wouldn't say because he's an American now, that negates the fact that he's from Texas. Do you understand? Now, a quintessential Yoruba man, it is drilled into our DNA to be an Omoluabi. What that simply means, being accommodative, being courteous, being friendly, being welcoming to all and sundry, regardless of who you are, where you're from. And that is what a Yoruba man is, or a Yoruba person. Pardon my my gender. Let me be gender neutral. Yeah, gender neutral. A Yoruba person. It is in our DNA. You see, you said the Obis play the race card here. Do you understand? You have their folks all over social media since yesterday claiming that they were rigged out of Lagos, they were threatened out of Lagos, they were doing this about it. The question which I ask is this: how many polling units are there in Lagos State? How many polling units in Lagos State recorded skirmishes? How many polling units in Lagos State did INEC not do their natural course of action, which they would have done in the past? Meaning, if there's skirmishes in this unit, they cancel the results there outrightly. But rather, INEC has given in VGC, in all those places that came out and cried on the social media yesterday, they are voting there today. INEC didn't say, you know what, we are canceling this, we are declaring this place no election, and therefore no. INEC, in its own wisdom, I said, okay, if the place was seated yesterday, come and vote today. It's a sign of progress. Do you understand? You see, when our brothers from the East heated this polity, like you rightly said, gloated gloated into the face of everybody working in Lagos, both online and even physically on ground, that Lagos is a no man's place. We are taking it over. And yes, sir, you say you think that when they said, "Oh, we will install an Igbo person in Lagos, and all your obas will be stripped of the powers," Governor, it is not a far-fetched statement. It is not. The governor of the state, any oba in the state serves at the pleasure of the governor. Not even the pleasure of the governor, pleasure of the local government chairman. Any a first-class oba in the state sits on that throne at the pleasure of a local government chairman. So if this is what they are parroting out, that this was the intention that they're about to do, the Yorubas have a proverb: the child that said if he grows up, it is the head of it is a yele that he will use to do pepper soup. Do you understand? That yele is the pigeon. Will not let that child grow up. It's a Yoruba parents. This election that happened yesterday, what happened was very simple. The silent majority, the Yorubas who were going about their business, who suddenly had invasion and takeover waved in their face, decided and said, you know what? Tinubu does not need a Lagos or whatever, or APC does not need a Lagos. Rather, we will come out and vote. We will come out and vote. And that is what happened yesterday. People came out. The turnout of yesterday's vote was more than that of 25th of February. People came out and voted.
You mean when you say it was more, you're talking about Lagos specifically or general?
It's Lagos specifically, Lagos. Because this whole thing about tribalism, everybody has narrowed it down and just zone it in onto Lagos only. Believing that, Lagos, if Labour cannot capture the center, then Labour might as well capture the fourth largest economy in Africa. And therefore, if they take Lagos, they can use that as a mount a fight back. But utterances matter. Words matter. You cannot come into my house and make me feel so emasculated and tell me to my face that you are ready to throw me out of the window and that you're taking over and that Lagos does not belong to nobody. And I mean. Governor, are you the floor back, sir?
Thank you so much, PLIDE Richard Jimoh. Thank you so much for giving that background and explaining quite a lot of things. Before I call the provost, let me just read. I believe there have been a few more chats since I read the last one. Okay, I already said network was bad from his side. Also, sorry to learn of that. PLIDE Lukman wrote, many of them fell for social media warlord lies and deceits, but emotions won't let them view things from general perspective. I'm interested in, I don't know who are the them that you're referring to there, so you might just want to explain it later. Thank you, sir, honorable convener, for speaking the truth. We give God the glory. You've never disappointed me, thank God. Many claim they didn't hear that from them. Okay, Richard Jimoh, this is PLIDE adapter writing this. Richard Jimoh, I'm sincerely respecting your opinion and submission on the subject matter. I swear you did well. I wonder what the swearing there was to do. You've already made your point. Okay, that's fine. PLIDE, look, my pretense is too much. And many Yorubas that didn't vote in the last election actually voted this time around. Okay, so let's go to our provost. Provost, over to you.
Good afternoon once again, everyone. I think everybody has spoke my mind. I just want to mention two things on the issue of INEC and also on the issue of tribe in Nigeria. So on the INEC, I know a lot of people think they didn't do excellently well. I mean, I feel like they did what they could. And one thing about me is I'm always positive when it comes to process, right? This is the first time INEC is using beavers nationally, right? I think sometimes we're a little bit impatient when it comes to processes like these. No election has been 100% perfect all over the world. Even when America used the electronic system, there were issues where they said, oh, it was Russia that helped Trump hack the system and all that. So there's always stuff like that. Things can go from you using something manually to digital and you expect it to be 100%. You know, I'm sure my hope is a lot of people will use this as a case study and kind of like identify, you know, the pros and cons and things they can do better and close the gap before the next election. So I think that's what we should be more positive about, that going forward, they can use this as a case study, but expecting it to be 100% perfect for the first time, I think is not realistic. So let's be positive about that. And the issue of tribe, I think the first webinar that we had after the election, I remember me mentioning something like, you know, as a Yoruba, and I respect the fact that Mr. Richard said the same thing. I always identify as a Yoruba anywhere I go, first, before even as a Nigerian. You know, at first, when I moved to the States, I usually go by my English name, Mercy. But over time, I changed it back to Kemi as my first name because I want people to see me and identify that, okay, this is a Yoruba girl in this building, you know. And Yorubas, we're very accommodating. Like, that's the way we were taught, that's the way we were brought up. And I've always been the opinion of that if I'm in my community in America, I want to go to my community and serve, right? And because I'm a citizen of America, I pay taxes, I want to be able to be, you know, pick up a ticket and say, hey, I want to contest for this election. And that's the way I see Lagos too. And 3 weeks ago, I did say that, like, come on, you know, if I can vote in America, I don't see why an Igbo man can't vote in Nigeria, right? In Lagos State. But I'm a person that when people speak, I just don't listen to what they speak of. I try to analyze where those words are coming from. What are the intent of the things you're saying? Because even the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? People say things on the surface, but there's so many things. So after 3 weeks ago, and I started reading a lot of things on the internet and seeing different videos, I started changing my mentality like any other person. I don't think me as a Nigerian American can speak to a Caucasian American and say, oh, America is no man's land, and we're going to take this from you. Like Nigerians are going to take taxes from you. You know, anybody will react. Anybody will react. So let's get that fact. But that's not even the main issue. The main issue is after all this have been said and done, the new government, I feel like Nigeria lacks structure when it comes to the issue of tribalism. Because the thing is, we weren't one nation until the British came, like Mr. Richard said, and brought us together. Were there conversations that, do these people want to stay together, right? No, they weren't then. But now that we are one Nigeria, I think the government, it's time to restructure so many things, so many policy, even not just the 6 geopolitical zones that we have. It's time to properly have a seat and alter some of the foundational structure when it comes to tribe and so things keeping us together as one Nigeria, right? I'm for one Nigeria because I feel like some part are going to suffer if we ever divide. You know, there's a lot of people benefiting from the fact that we're one Nigeria, but we need to start that conversation. You know, let's not just say, oh, I'm able, but this is a problem, and it will always be a problem. Let's be honest with ourselves, because when all is said and done, everybody will say, you know what? I'm a typical Yoruba person. I'm an Igbo person, and I'm an Hausa person. Everybody will claim that. So I think there needs to be conversation around how do we restructure these things if we want to stay together. And I hope this government will see that, will learn from that. When it comes to election, when it comes to distribution of resources and all that, how can we restructure these things? Because if not, I'm telling you, this cannot last until somebody change the policies, somebody change the structure. The constitution, the constitution needs to be reviewed. There's so many things. things that we can see now that are wrong with our constitution and the structure. And until we have those conversations, I don't think there will be one Nigeria. That's my submission.
Thank you so much, everyone. I believe we've gone around everyone. I don't know if Ibukun and Tolu want to say something again. Richard Jimo, are you raising your hand again, or is the previous one? Okay, I believe it's the previous one. So I'm just going.
Yes, so I want to say something.
So Tolu, let's hear from you. Oh yeah, go on. And then after that, I think we can give Ibukun a few minutes, and then we end the webinar here.
I want to say something.
Go on, please. Go on, please. By all means, go on, please.
Yeah, okay. I'm basically just still going to go on the tribe thing. Now, I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick something from what Mercy just said. I think that I got the name right. I happen to be a Lagosian. And the irony, which I think I actually posted on my social media over the period of time this thing was brewing, is the fact that plus Bola Ahmed plus Sanwo-Olu, for us Lagosians, they are not even Lagosians. And those advocating just choose to overlook that because they are Yorubas. Now, that complements what PLIDE said, which is the fact that first and foremost, there is Yoruba, and the marriage of the country called Nigeria was not a voluntary one for the Yoruba people. That is right. But whether we like it or not, one thing I know is we have all been stuck in this entity called Nigeria. So except there is a plan to actually get out of this entity called Nigeria, the policies need to start evolving outside that. I made a joke. I made it a joke, but it's not so funny when you think about it. Imagine me trying to contest in Lagos, then somebody comes and tells me my grandmom is not a Lagosian, she's a Sierra Leonean, so I can't contest. Or because my cousin got married to a non-Nigerian, that makes them non-Nigerians. And we are Lagosians. We are from Agege. I say it a lot. You understand? And if we go on with these issues, we realize, okay, would you say my cousins are not Yoruba because their mom is Sierra Leonean or because a couple of them married non-Nigerians? When I heard the issue, because now I'm personalizing this, let a lot of us try to come into my shoe. I am a Nigerian with close relatives that are non-Nigerians. I have cousins whose mom is non-Nigerian, wife is non-Nigerian. I have cousins who are German Nigerians, and I look at it. Are you telling me all these my cousins would not be able to contest? If I try to contest, are you saying they will dig up all these relationships and use it against me if I decide to go to contest for a post? And so while I appreciate our individuality as a tribe, I am proudly Yoruba. I would also want to point out that one of the things I highlighted was the fact that Vivo could not speak Yoruba. Now, a lot of us cannot speak Yoruba, so I don't know what people want to do about it. In fact, the other Yoruba tribes will tell you there is Lagos Yoruba, which is not proper Yoruba. And so, now these issues are there. In fact, bringing it up during election is belittling the issues, because these issues are not political in any way. We are advocating for things like teaching in the local dialects. We are advocating for things like redefining the definition of corporate dressing. So we are fighting to keep our culture relevant. So when somebody comes and tries to use the election, you are not trying to address these issues from a constitutional perspective. You're not addressing it from the perspectives that really matter. Why would you now bring it up only during election? That is where I am a Lagosian, so I'm speaking from that position. Yes, I am Yoruba. I am proudly Yoruba. I promote my culture. I do not even have an English name. That is something my family made sure. Till my children, there is none of us were carrying English names. So you now bring this up only during election. Where were all these people advocating for, Lagos is a Yoruba land? Then we were advocating for schools to teach in Yoruba. When we were advocating for them to stop calling our traditional language vernacular. When we were advocating for the traditional attires to be recognized as corporate dressing. Where were these people? But when it comes to politics, everybody wants to stand up and say, yes, I am proudly Yoruba. Where is your pride once the election is over? I was telling somebody, I am a Lagosian. Why is an Ogun State person standing up to say who can be governor in Lagos State? Can I go to Ekiti and say who can be governor in Ekiti? I am a Lagosian. Can I come to Oyo and tell them who can be governor in Oyo? Why does everybody, regardless of where you are from, even other Yoruba units, feel they have an opinion in Lagos, but Lagos does not have an opinion in their own? When you speak as a Lagosian, they call us Akata when they want to as well, and say because we are Lagosians, we speak like Lagos. Once you do anything, but when it is election time, and there comes up what I call Abusi Yoruba. Every Lagosian sees it when we are dealing with ourselves as a tribe. But because it is election, we're trying to rally Lagos and suddenly turn Lagos to the new Ile-Ife, which is where we are supposed to be centered and agreeable on. The issues are there.
Muted yourself. You've muted yourself. I'm not sure she's aware. I think you muted yourself, Tolu. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I thought my time was up.
Yeah, no, just fine. I'll just conclude. I'll give you 15 seconds. Just conclude. That's fine. Conclude. Or are you done?
I thought my time was up.
Yeah, it was actually up, but because you hadn't really spoken much, that's why.
So basically, that is my own. The issues we are trying to raise, they exist, but they are not electoral issues. That's my point.
Okay.
They are not issues for election.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well done. Thank you so much for giving.
That's basically my point. The issues exist, but they are not.
Okay, thank you for giving us those views. I'll just quickly call Ibukun Ayodero, and then Adapter is raising up his hand. Actually, I should not be calling anybody raising up their hand. And I know Richard Jimo raised his hand as well. I'll just give them one minute each. But let's Ibukun has already spoken once tonight, effectively. So Ibukun, let's give you your own few minutes as well, just to make your final point here.
All right, thank you, sir, the convener. I think the issue of tribalism goes beyond Yoruba and the people. I know it's an unfortunate thing that happened in Lagos. I think that is what led to whatever that happened yesterday during the governorship election. But I was also trying to look at some results that came in this evening from some core northern states. And I can already see that people for the presidential election, people actually voted along tribal lines. If you look at Yobe State, that is a traditional APC state, for instance, Atiku won in that state by 198,000 votes, APC 151,000 votes. For the governorship election now, the governor won that state by 311 votes, or 311 votes. And the governor is an APC member. The same thing in Katsina. And when I look at Kaduna also, Kaduna now, I think not official, but it's looking like the person of APC will win Kaduna State. So apart from the North Central, which they seem to be neutral in this election, you will see that they are the ones that actually try to vote for people that they believe they can vote for. Naira voted for Peter Obi. Some other states, Kwara and Co, voted for Tinubu. While the Northeast and the Northwest, you will see that most of them they voted for Atiku. It's only in Kano State that I can say yes, there is a court followership for Kwakwanso, and they voted for Kwakwanso. So this is an issue that we have already. So how come all the APC states that lost to PDP in the presidential election now won their states for the governors? So it already shows that we are already divided along the tribal lines. And the earlier we sort this out, the better. How we are going to sort it out, I don't know. But I think it is something that we really need to look into as a country if we really want to progress beyond this tribalism. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibukun. Ibukun Ayodiran, thank you so much. Ibukun is based in Ibadan, President of Wesley College or Old Student Association, I believe. Thank you so much, Ibukun. Thank you for your views there. And you've drawn another perspective, and hopefully during our webinar next week, even though we're going to have a special guest in our midst, maybe even a couple of special guests, but it will still be an opportunity to actually to interrogate those lines a bit more, because I believe we've had the individual personalities that actually impacted the elections really seriously. For example, I've been monitoring the vote in Kano. It does appear it's been neck to neck between NNPP and the APC. And then when you look at, like you rightly said, certain states, you're just looking at different dynamics. You're even looking at Peter Obi's own state of Anambra. Anambra, at the last count, I wouldn't know, well, about 4 hours ago, Abga was actually leading in terms of, so people, in terms of the House of Assembly votes, because of course there are no governorship elections in Anambra because of the staggered tenure. So basically, you would see that I think people just voted for their sons and all those things, you know. So and it's very interesting. The elections are so interesting. For me, one of the things that really struck me is how low, if the results are actually correct and they've not been tampered with, what has suddenly happened to PDP? PDP seems to have seriously fractured, and people will be asking the question, because those who actually surrounded Atiku and encouraged him to not to give in to the G5 largely, you find out most of them, it would appear like Wike said, maybe these things, I want us to be able to come up with some position to actually analyze quite a lot of these things. It would appear that many of them actually, like Wike said in advance, that they were and they are of no electoral value. Talking of Aliyu Babangida, or former governor of Niger State, talking of Sule Lamido in Chigawa. We don't know what's happening in Sokoto now. I've not seen anything on Sokoto yet. Talking of Dino Melai in Kwara. Talking of the governor of Delta State. Of course, it does appear that PDP might win win the governorship from some of the things I've seen. But you know what? It does. And then you're looking at Sheyi Makinde winning. Of course, you're looking at Otom. It's been total disaster for the PDP in Benue State. In Enugu State, it's appearing like, well, the Labour Party people there are accusing the Enugu PDP of trying to rig the elections. But of course, you even look, for me, I found Enugu particularly interesting because you had Aisha Yesufu, one of the quote and unquote the power houses, so to say, behind Peter Obi and the Obedient movement, kept saying, vote for former minister, I believe he was former minister for information, Frank Nweke Jr. And then the Obedients were shouting. There was that bit of chaos amongst them. They were saying no. It was going to be LP top to bottom. Of course, at the last count, Frank Nweke Jr. was even out of the equation because that also speaks to the politics of within the movement. When people start believing as well that suddenly because they've been part of maybe the NSAS, that has given them the permission, the right to be able to determine national politicking and national politics. So I think Frankie Nweke Jr. is even out of the equation. These are the things, and I want to thank you, Ayodiran, for taking us in that direction where hopefully God spare our lives next week, we'll be able to analyze these things a bit further. Let's go to Adapter, and I think that's probably I'll take after Adapter. I know Richard Jimo raised up his hand.
No, sir, I did not raise up my hand, so you can just take Adapter, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so Adapter and Ayole, I don't know if his network finally has gotten sorted, and then that will be it for the night.
I'm back. Thank you one more time for giving me this privilege. It's been a very interesting webinar tonight, and I'm happy because.
By the way, hold on. By the way, go on. Before you go on, Of course, many of us would have read the report. One of the strongest members of the Obedient team, Obedient movement, in fact, is actually called. Some people even refer to him as the chief propagandist. A guy called Chude was arrested and I mean, these are some of the questions people are asking. That quite a lot of people get away with targeting Lagos State governor, Kaduna governor, this guy, or your governor, I know, but that a lot of things actually also happen in the Southeast, and many of these things go unreported. The activists don't even complain, and quite a lot of things. So, but of course, many of you would have read it. Chude was, and as today, Governor Soludo actually came out to say, well, that the arrest was not him per se, that it was the Interpol. The guy had been arrested on, and I just want to, those of us who have siblings, we've had like about 2 years where the social media, especially Twitter, they've been like as if they were the government of Nigeria, and they've gotten away with everything. A lot of people, like yesterday, a lady posted on social media, she said, well, she was gloating that they killed one person, a thug, quote and unquote. They said the person was a thug. I don't know, it might be true, it might be incorrect. Somewhere in the solo, in the estate, even posted the estate.
We all saw the video.
1 minute, I'm coming.
We saw the video.
No, just hold on, you'll be able to talk about it. And the lady now posted that I personally beat up a policewoman who was there watching. So she did not accuse the policewoman of doing anything wrong, and said, I personally beat up. Social media, the place has gone almost raving mad, and I'm like, this girl has just ruined her life. Because embassies, they screen social media things before they give you your visas. Employers, I've sat on many panels to employ people, and at times we pull up, we ask the HR department for, social media profile. We want to see the things you've been posting, and I don't know, I believe DSS will probably be looking for that girl today. And it's just the dumbness, how dumb people are, and the fact that you've gotten away with everything under a Buhari government, Buhari, who is, at times, I wonder if he's in charge, or, let's just warn our younger ones, our loved ones, many of them, the kind of footprints they've left on social media. I'm saying this as someone, I can't really say so much on air, but I've done things professionally that I actually have to pull up records, and I trace people, and I'm talking in my professional life, and the kind of information I see on social media at times, and when some of these people are confronted with this information, they actually deny it. And truly, you wouldn't expect them to remember that they posted something 9 years ago on Twitter. And social media just doesn't forget. All I need to do is just put your details, put a few things, the algorithms will get them all out. Oh my God. Richard Jimo, please I know you wanted to make a comment on what I talked about before we go to Adapter, and Adapter will be the last one for tonight. If Ayole's network is still bad. So Richard Jimo, please.
You see, that we saw that video.
Your network is bad suddenly. Richard Jimo. Okay, I think his network just went bad suddenly. We were hearing. Hello?
You understand? Now.
Okay, we can hear you now. We lost you there for a moment. We weren't hearing you before. Go on.
Now, the thing was, these people were literally lynching a fellow human being to death. Regardless that maybe he was allegedly a thug or allegedly a ballot snatcher, they were literally lynching this person to death and recording and filming themselves while doing it, pasting it on social media, celebrating, shouting that, yeah, one of them is down, one of them is down. You don't lose in life. You don't lose in life for election. And I was just looking at all their faces. Even me, an untrained professional, can see all their faces clearly in that group there. Convener, may you stay in the United Kingdom? Yeah. You remember 2011 riots throughout
in Tottenham,
that spread across like a wildfire throughout
Tottenham and Mount in North London.
It spread across the whole UK. There was riots in Manchester, Birmingham, everywhere. You know what the United Kingdom Constabulary came out? I think this was about 3 years ago. That all those who took part in that riot, they were numbering almost about 25,000. Guess what, Convener? The very last person in that 25,000 got jailed 2 years ago. Do you understand? And you remember when this riot happened in 2011, all these youths were just getting caught in the fora and everything. Yeah, the authorities just decided not to do anything at that point. Do you understand? Knowing fully well that there's CCTVs everywhere, there's social media data everywhere. By the time the whole riot simmered down, about 6 months later, everybody just started getting a knock on their door, putting before you irrefutable evidences. I'm telling you, of the 25,000 people who partook in that riot, the last person got jailed 2 years ago. Just look at the time span, 2011 to 2020. And people are literally murdering somebody, putting it on social media, dancing about it. Anyway.
It's just lunacy. Thank you so much for giving more information. It's just sheer lunacy. Some of us, when you talk to them, I think, and I say for me, it even hurts me as a person when people go like, so we're here to fight for you people, your generations. No generation has ever done anything. And I keep repeating, it's not like some of us want to brag or anything. The other day, yesterday, I was reading the profile of GAHRD. Some of you would have, he's a son from Osun State, Kunle Oyegoke, Adegoke, and GAHRD he was expelled from University of Ilorin for student unionism, for fighting for the rights of people and fighting the military government. And he had to write JAMB again. From final year, he was expelled. Final year, Unilorin. He had to go to do JAMB again, and he got admitted to Unilag. And I left him in the university system when I graduated in 1997. After spending 6 years instead of 4 as well, I left him in the university system. So you can imagine. So a lot of people have given so much, and when you're seeing some of these things, they really, really worry you. And for those of us who were old enough during Ken Saro-Wiwa's time, there's certain things you just don't do. I mean, Saro-Wiwa went down for the offense of a few. Ken Saro-Wiwa he led the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people. But because there were 4 community elders who were not in support of that movement, and I think at a meeting, somehow maybe the youth of the community lynched those people and killed those 4 elders, a lot of them were sentenced to death. And some of us, please just Google it. Femi Falana was a lawyer for Ken Saro-Wiwa. I still remember, and this man, they were killed. People do, and in our laws, in our jurisprudence, we still have the death, the capital punishment existing in our jurisprudence. And so when you see human beings who should be reasonable filming themselves killing someone, the law says, I've not seen anywhere in the law that it states that, if someone is a murderer, even someone who is a murderer, except you're killing in self-defense, you cannot. But when you film yourselves lynching someone and killing the person, showing your colleagues, your neighbors' faces with planks, and of course the thugs have to be condemned. They've got to really, really be strongly condemned themselves. There's no place for third degree in any sense society. But you know what? When you film yourselves killing, and gloating and celebrating. There's quite a lot of madness in the system. Adapter, let's hear from you, and then we should take Ayole, and then we'll close the meeting for tonight.
Thank you one more time, the convener, for giving me the privilege to speak again tonight. I just want to speak to two things. When somebody just mentioned the election in the north, and the dynamics of the election during the presidential election, the way it went for Atiku, the PDP man, and only in Kano, where we had NPP, and also Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was almost second in all those states until he emerged the winner. That is not supposed to be a problem if we look at our electoral law and the section that talks about the 25% victory or win in in about 24 states, including the federal capital. If we look at that law, you will look at it critically that someone that prepared to be the president of Nigeria, which is the very first time we'll be seeing such a person, won that election due to that 25% in 24 states and all that. Because if you look at that election result very well, you agree with me that it's not, the majority did not want Tinubu to win. The
majority of who, please?
The majority of Nigerian voters. The majority of Nigerian voters did not want Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president.
So if the majority of Nigerian voters didn't want him, that means his election is questionable then? Is that not automatic?
No. Why he's saying is the vote for Labour and the vote for PDP, if you plus them together,
okay.
And the vote of APC. Yeah. That's just why.
Now, the majority of the voters did not want Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president of Nigeria. But one thing happened. Somebody was prepared to win that election because he has a vision, because he's ambitious, because he's dedicated, because he felt he's the only one that can right the wrongs in our system. And that is why you saw an Ashwaji winning that election. For instance, Ashwaji is the only candidate in that election that went to all the 36 states of the country, including the federal capital, with even sometimes he went to some places 3 or 4 times. And you will now see that one coming out in that result of that election, where Ashwaji is supposed to win, that you are expecting him to win, like in Kano, like in Kaduna, like where you see his loyalists as the head of those states. And Ashwaji is now becoming second in such states. It will tell you that he's duly prepared for that election. He wasn't looking for the 100% win. He wasn't looking for 50% win. He's just targeting the 25% victory that everybody, that the Constitution allows him to use to win an election. And that is what you see, that when somebody now said people voted along tribal lines, I tell the person, no, that is not true. Where Tinubu won 750 votes in Kano and NNPP won 1.something million, it shows to you that Atiku would have been the second person there if they are voting tribal line. Atiku would have become the second there. But Ashwaji became the second. Is to show you that some people in those states, Ashwaji has won their hearts through his campaign. So those ones are committed to voting him, while others are committed to voting the candidate that they felt is from their place. So tribalism did not play out there. Tribalism only play out where you see people that are not from a region telling those people in that region to their face that they are going to take their region from them. That is where you see tribalism taking place. And if you look at the whole election, put them together, you will see that it affects them seriously in this gubernatorial election. That is when you now see that even in their own territory, they are losing hold. In their own territory, they are losing the grip of the sentiments they played in previous elections. And
thank you so much.
Agree with me.
Thank you so much.
You agree with me that the country where everybody are still looking forward to be united, except the people that we are all talking about tonight, that they are playing tribalism and religious politics. Every other part of this country still want us to be united. Thank you so much for this privilege. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Indeed, Nigeria is a beautiful country. Some of my best friends are Igbos and Hausas. I served in the north, and that still remains one of my most enjoyable periods. And you know, I was treated like a demigod. Those of us who came to serve, who went to the north to serve, the Northerners treated us like demigods. In fact, they literally worshipped us, you know. And I remember many times the women, the girls amongst us who want to get on, if we were going on public transport, they would chase us down, because it made me realize how specially they treated their women. You know, they would tell us, the men, to get down first, the male coppers. They treated the women with so much respect. And, you know, whenever we're waiting for, well, they call Okadas Achabas there, you know, in fact, they would stop Okadas Achabas, you know, for the women. And, you know, it was so enjoyable. So I believe Nigeria has a great potential as a united nation. But we must also understand, and I will speak to, because I know Provost spoke about it and Tolu actually spoke about it as well. I said to people as well, when I was speaking with someone yesterday and we had this conversation, and I say, I raised my children, for example, to have respect for, they might be called British and they might have their passports, they might be, you know, but I will always say they think mostly as like Nigerians. And I think as a Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian through and through. I love Nigeria. I see Nigeria as my number one country. I'm not ashamed to say it, and I'm never afraid to say it anywhere. But the first thing I must do critically, I will never go out of my street to say to my neighbor, who the hell are you? We own this place together. This is, well, you cannot lay claim to this land and all things. In fact, I stay clear of those conversations, because those conversations can inflame passions. You know, so they're capable of stirring. It might make the locals, and people ask the question, you know, and I believe those who are on this call, like Provost, who live in America, should counter this if I'm wrong. Trump won in the hinterlands. So Trump won in the rural areas and all this, because the sense of ownership that many of those people had in those areas were beginning to get lost to so many things, and even immigration. And so, you know, so those areas, people became a bit more hostile to visitors. They became, you know, the worst thing you can do is to attack, is to make your host feel that they have made a mistake by welcoming you. It is a wrong thing. And I know that the majority of Igbos are very, very good people. It is actually the noisiest ones amongst them, the minority. And I want to plead with our Yoruba brothers and sisters, our Hausa brothers and sisters, Fulani brothers and sisters, please let us not use these very unpleasant episode to tar everyone from that beautiful part of the country, from southeast of Nigeria. Let's not forget that there's so many people that will celebrate today that are from that place, and they integrate. And when you're condemning them, don't forget that this actor, what was his name now? He did come out. The one who went to marry a second wife, what's his name again? Just keep my mind down. He did come out to actually talk about how hospitable the people of the Southwest. What's that?
Yul Edochie.
Thank you so much, Yul Edochie.
The actor name.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, PLIDE Richards. He came out with a very beautiful statement. The people of the Southwest, that nobody had ever discriminated against him nobody, in fact, until you mention where you are from, my lifetime was spent in Lagos. Until I emigrated, but even now I still call myself a Lagos boy, even though my parents were originally from another state entirely. But you know what? The fact of it is, I don't ever remember us talking and saying this person is Igbo or something. I can't remember any meeting, any event I went to where tribe was actually mentioned. The Yoruba people of the Southwest have always been very hospitable. And I mentioned that growing up, one of my best friends was the Igbo trader that occupied my grandmother's shop, the shop in my grandmother's house. And when my grandmother cooked in the evening, whenever they prepared food, you know the way they used to do, they would prepare so much pounded yam for everybody. And the Igbo guy, we used to call him OP, he would get served like everybody else. And I don't even know if he was paying any rent. He probably was maybe paying a little rent for his shop, but the room he occupied in the house, he was not paying a dime. So, and we were all one happy family. In the evening, whenever he was doing his pump lanterns, some of you remember those lanterns that they used to pump, I'll sit with him, we'll do it, it was fun, and he'll be playing the Igbo music, we'll be dancing. We should not be woke. I think the problem of the younger generation is they are woke. They want to appeal to base emotions. They want to be validated. They want to be accepted. So they speak, let us attack the problem where it actually emanates from. Who introduced tribalism into this election? Peter Obi actually did. It is a fact. And then some of the very loud Southeasterners, let's always make it some, not a lot of them. And even people we looked up to that we've never ever questioned their tribe, celebrities and all that we've never ever known whether they were Hausa or Yoruba or Igbo. Nobody even knew. For example, for me, it was this election that made me know, for example, that Keten Shaw, some people say she's not Yoruba. I never ever knew. As far as I was concerned, I've never even questioned our tribe. How can I question someone's tribe? But of course, many people brought these things into it. And when you show hatred to people who have, now people are now talking in Yoruba land about, okay, you know what, guys, maybe it's time to stop selling land. It's time to stop selling houses, because we had this guy who did a video, and the guy said the truth anyway. Say, well, it is people who own houses in places that are called owners of that place. It is also the truth, because it speaks to the greed of many landlords of Yoruba extraction, the greed, the avarice. Because if a Yoruba man rents a house, if an Igbo man comes with money for 3 years, they will actually evict you from that house and give the house to the, so the guy wasn't lying at all. So it is time for us to, I hope we can begin to walk back from the path of tribalism and the religious bigotry that was introduced. Personally, and I've said this, many so-called men of God have lost my respect for life. For life, I do not consider, and also God has also made a public show of many of them, because God's word will never fall to the ground without fulfilling that for which it has been spoken. So God is also not the author of confusion. If God says it, it will 100% come to pass. If it does not come to pass, or it's not coming to pass, God has not said it. And I feel sorry for Nigerians who still worship pastors, who still go to some churches where evidently the Spirit of God is not the one in charge, it's not the one in control. The spirit of man actually controls some of those ministries, the introduction of religious and tribal politics. They made this election so sad. It's so sad. But I hope that we, as people who say we want to help make a change, we can help to start dousing these tensions. Please don't hate your Igbo friend because of this election. Many of them, yes, some of them participated, but many of them, they did not support this. If people like Yul Edochie could have come out, that there are also thousands of Yul Edochies who just didn't have, or who were even afraid to talk because they didn't want to be ostracized. of course, the man dies in him who keeps quiet in the face of injustice, you know. So I want to thank everybody for being part of this webinar. I applied that. Lukman, do you want to say anything very quickly in 2 minutes? I think your network has been so poor tonight, so I feel sorry that you've not really been able to partake in the webinar. Yes, so quickly go on so we can finish it.
We'll be deceiving ourselves if we are saying we don't know where the tribal war came from, and you've said it all. Then, secondly, I think we have a lot of work to do as an individual in correcting most of these things. Let me cite an example for us in this house. I can remember a meeting we had, and some people there were like, these Igbo people, we must stop giving them something, we must stop doing this for them, because most of them, they voted against us, they do this, they do that. And I told them, I said, you are all deceiving yourselves. That even among you, the Yorubas here, you voted against APC. So for you now accusing someone, and I knew of a Igbo woman on that day of the election that uses money to rent tents and shares for INEC and people to sit down on that day of election. Sure, you get. So, but my only challenge is for us now to be saying, for us not to tackle the issues from source. That is the problem. Where if many of us have spoken against it, when some people on social media were saying, yes, we conquer Lagos, yes, we told them we will defeat them, this and that, whatever. Their wish had come to pass because they wanted to win Lagos State for Peter Obi. And that is where we got it wrong. I have many people that didn't vote, didn't even come out to vote at all in the last yesterday election, simply because of. But the whole body is now on the newly elected president. I just pray that God helps him on ways to make things right, because we can't continue this way. But among all, it's a victory for us. It's a victory for all. And for me, I still believe in a new Nigeria, and I know Nigeria will be better under my own watch when I'm still alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Lukman. So let's just call on our provost to do a vote of thanks to everyone for tonight, and then we call it a night. Thank you. Sorry, there's so many chats here. Let me quickly read them. PLIDE Lukman wrote, many Yorubas that didn't vote in the last election voted this time around. Yes, I agree with you. Right from time, other tribes have been contesting in Lagos without any issues like we're having now. Idimogu was even he was called the leader of the Igbos because he contested on the platform of APC. People contested on the platform of PDP. And there's so much misinformation on social media. For example, Olumide Oworu, the guy was actually not even a candidate. And it's just so much, but it is well. But the jamboree and unpleasant words said by them led us to where we are. You're not addressing the main cause of the issues, but just telling you what is right or wrong. I think these are Lukman are referring to addressing Tolu there, I believe. Please allow me to speak. So anyway, I've allowed you. I didn't see that. Then PLIDE Lukman is a huge body on the president-elect. I agree. Bukayo Road. Well, what I was trying to say is that many people voted their kinsmen. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not disputing Asiwaju's preparedness. I voted campaign and spent my money for Asiwaju. That's Bukayo Road. The Richard Jones said the speaker has spoken analytically and beautifully. Thank you. The states we did not expect Asiwaju to lose because they are fully APC states, but he lost there to Atiku. All I'm saying is that we need to look beyond tribalism and vote for people that are competent to lead the country. And Brother Ayele wrote exactly 100%. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a wonderful time. And from the look of things, it does appear that that Atiku is also going to lose his home states. So let's call our provost to give vote of thanks and we call it a night. Thank you, everyone.
All right. right, thank you, the convener. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's faint, but go on. We can hear you. It's faint, but go on.
Oh, okay. All right. Is it better now?
Oh, fantastic. We can hear you now.
All righty. I was just greeting everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining the webinar today. Thank you for all your wonderful contributions. Thank you for keeping an open mind, and thank you for speaking your mind as well. It was an interesting one. Thank you everybody for their contribution. My hope is that as we go forward, we take lessons from this election, and we begin to start conversations within our own inner circle and community, as far as the structure and tribe is concerned, and also look beyond tribalism and all the failures of this election, and just remember the greatest thing we can do is to be kind to one another. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. God bless.
Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.